Hey everybody, this is Craig Garver. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We got a great guest with us today with George Harris from the Raven Age. Quick note, I want to just thank Dana Gordon for connecting us. Thanks, Dana. George is one of the founding members of the Raven Age. They're a very tight heavy metal band from London. They've released 3 full-length albums and an EP since 2017. George is the primary composer. He's extremely prolific, and we'll talk about that actually. And one of the 2 guitarists. The band's played over 400 shows internationally across 38 countries, including the main stage at Download, Rock in Rio, Wacken, Hellfest, and more, as well as touring with Killswitch Engage, Volbeat, Shinedown, Alter Bridge, and Iron Maiden. Their latest album is called Blood Omen. It's really great. We'll talk about it. George is a hell of a guitarist as well, and he's actually the son of Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. And I will not ask you a lot of questions about that because I know you get enough of those. Anyway, man, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no worries, Craig. No, thanks for having me, mate. It's good to meet you.
Likewise. All right, so you started playing bass at age 12, and then you switched to guitar around 14. What prompted you to switch, and how did your experience playing bass actually help you as a guitarist and a songwriter?
I think I picked up the bass. You know, my dad being a bass player, there were a few basses lying around the house, and I was always kind of intrigued.
More than a few.
Yeah. He had an acoustic bass in the living room just on a stand, and I used to just walk past it and look at it all the time, and just thought that's such a cool looking thing. I mean, obviously, watched my dad playing it. I thought, how the hell do you play like that? I have no idea, but I was interested in it, so I just, without even asking him, I used to just pick it up and just noodle around and stuff, and then one day I said, do you mind teaching me some stuff? So he taught me how to play Smoke on the Water. Which I think is like, you know, every guitarist's first riff they ever learn, pretty much.
Pretty much,
yes. You know, I learned like the guitar riff, rather than the bass line, like the droning bass line, I learned the actual guitar riff on the bass, if you know what I mean. Just like, you know, I was listening, going to teach me a couple of things like that, which I recognise, and you go, oh, wow, I can do that. And then I kind of just, the enjoyment part that I got from it was learning stuff that I knew. Actually, predominantly at the time, Maiden songs, just because that's kind of, it was around all the time, and I knew a lot of the bass lines and whatever. So, you know, you get that sort of sense of achievement out of figuring it out for yourself. So I was like a learn it by ear kind of kid, and for whatever reason, I just kind of stopped after about a year. I don't really know why, and I was like, I'm going to know about getting back into it. But my sister had this like 3/4 size acoustic guitar in her room, which she never ever used. It was just there gathering dust. And I was like, again, I just used to walk past it and go, that's even cooler. That looks even cooler than the bass guitar. And I don't know why. I just really was fascinated by the 6-string guitar. So I kind of stole it, and same deal, just noodling around. I got my dad to show me he doesn't play much actual guitar at all, but he just knows the basic chords. I was like, can you show me the basic chords? And then I was away, just fell in love with the guitar and kind of went from there.
Cool. Did anything that you got out of the bass help you as a guitar player or as a writer later on?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I actually went on after, obviously playing the bass is like it helps me naturally just tune my ear to music. I think playing the bass for that year that I did when I was like 12, because I figured out so many bits and bobs and songs and bass lines just by myself, which is what, you know, like I said, that was the fun part for me. So I think that was like the foundations of training my ear for music in general. And then I actually joined a band playing the bass as a bass player when I was like 16. So I did my first band with a group of mates at school when I was like 14, just 14 and a half, nearly 15 years old. Then I joined a band. My cousin was playing the drums, and I joined a band playing the bass. I was in that band for a couple of years and playing. I wasn't really getting involved with the songwriting or anything at that point. It was more like sitting in the back, kind of playing along to what the other guys were writing. So I was being a bass player in a band gives you a different perspective of what the bass does and how it complements the guitars and the vocals and locking in with the drums and shit like that. And but along the side, I was kind of playing. It wasn't really. I loved playing in that band. It wasn't really my full type of, you know, music. I was a metal guy. I was a metal kid. I wanted to play heavy riffs, and especially like the metalcore bands got me
sort
of into playing guitar when I was around that age. So after, I was kind of carrying on playing the guitar alongside, just kind of writing my own bits and bobs. And then guitar sort of took over again for me after that. I just kind of thought, I met the right guy, actually, of course, what happened. I met the right guy and we sort of bounced off each other and thought, let's give this a crack.
Very cool. You started writing that young?
Well, actually, I think one of the first riffs which I came up with, which I was in my first band, but the band was like, it was my first band kind of style, and it sounds a bit stupid, but I was like, oh, I'm going to keep this riff to myself because I think this riff's too good for the band.
But that's like a normal thought when you're that age, of course, especially if you're like, hey, especially if you had the awareness, like, okay, I know this is my first band and I know I'm going to be moving on. No, I don't think that's unreasonable. It sounds funny if I know what you mean, but I totally, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I kept that for a few years, and that when I met the guy who I started the Raven Age with, who is now our manager, it's all complicated, but we had our first jam session together, and that's the riff that I showed him, and then he loved it, and we just sort of gelled, and we ended up writing a song out of that riff in that first session we did. So it
was a good decision after all.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. You must have been like, hey man, I've been holding this riff for 5 years. Just listen, please.
Yeah. It's like, I was like, oh god, I hope he likes it.
That's a great story, man. You also write music and lyrics, which is like rare in a band situation. How did that evolve over time? Because that's not common, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, when I was younger, I thought I'd be the last person to write lyrics. I just I was a really shy kid, and like not very sort of opinionated or outgoing. I wasn't like expressive of myself, especially. So I kind of just thought, writing along to this music, and we'll get a singer in, and they'll write the lyrics. And we'll go from there. But we went such a long time, just me and him just jamming, because I was into writing melodies and stuff. So I thought, oh, this would be maybe this would be a cool vocal melody. So I started getting some of that stuff down. And again, we was just waiting around. We didn't have a singer, so I just thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And it's weird at that age when you first start writing, you even feel you're like kind of looking over your shoulder, make sure no one's looking. Like I feel embarrassed writing all this stuff just in case it's no one thinks it's any good.
Sure, especially if you're shy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mustered up the courage to show Dan, and he was like, I think they're really cool. And I just sort of carried on with it. Like I thought, oh, okay, what other subjects can I write about? And I kind of just ended up getting into it and actually enjoying it in the end. It was a bit of a grind to start with, but I become kind of fascinated with it, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Have you changed as a result of it? Like, are you less shy, or are you still shy? And then, but you're able to write lyrics now because you have more life experience and writing experience, or did it bring you out of your shell, so to speak?
I think it did. It did a touch. It's like a way of kind of. I'd say with my lyrics, I find it a lot easier to write about a completely different subject, like we've got a track called Fleur de Lis, for instance, which is about Joan of Arc, and that's like specifically about one thing. So you can research and you can find facts and all sorts of stuff, and then you can compile that into lyrics which fit the melodies and stuff, which I find that a lot easier to do. And if you find something which sparks something in you, you can go, oh, okay, great, I want to get into this. And then there's the other side of lyric writing, which okay, I'm going to write something personal, and I find that a hell of a lot more difficult, just because, like I said, I'm just that type of person. But I tend to kind of hide it all in metaphors and stuff like that. So I don't think anyone really know sometimes what the lyrics are actually about, and it sounds like it's about something completely different. But it's this means this and this means that. People go, oh, right.
Oh, that's interesting. Does it help you? Is it almost like therapy when you do stuff like that? Like you're getting something out, but you don't necessarily have to make yourself you're getting it out, which is like the therapy
Yeah,
part,
yeah,
but you don't have to say, "Hey, everybody, let me announce this shit."
exactly. Yeah, I think it was that. It was like an indirect way of me sort of getting stuff off my chest.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, it's better to get it off than leave it in there. Trust me, I met a lot of
Exactly.
crazy people who never get it off. Um,
Yeah.
what were some of the challenges early on as far as getting things up and running for Raven Age?
I guess the first hurdle was just getting the right like the bands like together, actually finding the right band members. It's been an ongoing thing up until literally till last year. Like,
Right.
we it took us a while. Me and Dan were jamming away for a good few years. We got a bass player, Matty, in, and it was us three playing along to like a laptop for a couple of years, and but then we finally got full band. We did a first EP and then first full length album, and Dan at the time, who was the guitarist at the time, the guy I started the band with, he was always he always told me from day one he doesn't want to be like a touring musician, and he was kind of involved in marketing and management anyway, so he naturally fell into that position for us. It's just lucky for us that he's able to do it
Sure.
alongside his full-time job. So that kind of happens, and yeah, we realised a couple of things weren't quite working out with the lineup and stuff, so we changed singers back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We have MJ on board now. We just fit like a glove, and we now have we had Tony Maui, who joined us as a guitarist for a good few years, 5 years nearly, actually. He was a great addition, and he's a great songwriter. We still work with him now, but we're now working with new guitarist Tommy Gentry, who's like an old family friend of mine, and he's an unbelievable guitar player. And it's kind of like all these pieces have changed our sounds, developed our sound, and it's now I finally sort of feel really very confident in the band, in a
That's
live
awesome, man.
scenario, our albums, our writing, and all that stuff. So I guess that was it's tough when you spend. It's a tough industry to be in. Like, everyone's got to be fully in it. Like, okay, lads, are you okay to go away from home for 2 months' time, and for not much money, and you know just enjoy the experience? And everyone's got to be like, yes. And especially when
Yeah.
you get into this kind of age, it's like it gets more and more difficult. But you keep plugging away, and I think like your hard work ends up paying off, basically.
Cool, man. Thank you. Um, let's talk about. I want to talk about a few of my favorite Raven Age songs because I went through your catalog. Um, Dying Embers of Life from the Dying Embers of Life from Conspiracy. I thought that was like such an awesome classic rock ballad. It was like the new wave of British heavy metal style. It was like
Yeah.
it's like everything I grew up with. Is perfect. I was just now. This may be interesting, given what you just said about lyrics being metaphors. Is this a track about someone stranded on an island, like literally, or maybe inside his mind, or?
It is exactly that. It's actually it's based off of a book I read. Oh, you know what? The name of the prisoner I was slipped my mind, but I visited Alcatraz
Holy
in
shit!
San
In
Francisco,
San
and
Francisco, yeah.
in San Francisco, I think his name's Thomas something. Can't remember the guy's name now. Oh, I've got the book somewhere, but this is way back when. I think I started writing this song like about 10 years ago or something, maybe.
Oh wow.
Um, so yeah, I went on that trip, read the book, and I just found it really inspiring. Just the sort of I guess the two completely different. Like, it's like an oxymoron. He's shut in this. He was saying about it being a blessing and a curse. All of the prisoners wanted to be on the top level on the left hand side, because you could see out the windows and see the city.
Oh,
But then the downside of it is you're seeing the city where you want to be, and
everything
you're
you
stuck.
can't have.
Everything you can't
Yeah.
have. Yeah, and I just found that really powerful kind of
Interesting.
message. Yeah, and that's
Very.
what that song's about.
Oh, that's cool. I love that track. It was really good. And then you had one called Fireflies. On the video, it's called Grave of the Fireflies, if anybody wants to check it out. And that's from Exile. I really liked that track, and the video I thought was really cool. It was about a soldier in World War II. I mean, this is this whole thing was an interesting story. The premise is like the guy has guilty feelings about the people he's had to kill, and which is because I'm sure that's like a very common thing. But I was curious what triggered the idea for that song, because it's not an easy, story to develop.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, that story, Grave of the Fireflies. Well, I was just researching some stuff online. I don't even know I can't remember what I was doing. I don't even think I was actively searching for song ideas, but I come across a book on on Amazon or something called Grave of the Fireflies, and I just thought that's a cool title. I wonder what that's about, and I looked into it, and it's actually I found there's a movie like a Studio Ghibli. It's like a Japanese anime.
Oh yeah, I know Totoro, Studio Ghibli, Totoro. Yeah, I watched that with my daughter when she was a little girl. Man, we love. She's 23 and she came over 2 weeks ago. We watched it again just for that.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I used to watch that as a kid as well. Yes, it's so good.
Oh, phenomenal! Yeah. Hey guys, this is a new project I'm involved with, so if it sounds interesting to you, give it a shot and let me know how you like it. Ever wish you could get involved in music licensing and start collecting ongoing royalties for placing your tracks in movies, commercials, trailers, and video games? Well, now you can. Simply check out this new free training video called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business in 2023. You can find it online at musicreboot.com, and this video shows you how to create the financial stability you've always wanted and how to take advantage of the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing due to the current situation of streaming and the internet. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com. Whether you've never made a placement before, or even if you've made a few placements, but you don't have a specific system to make ongoing placements more consistently, this video's got you covered. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com. Guys, today's episode is brought to you by Lewitt Microphones. For a limited time, Lewitt is giving Everyone Loves Guitar listeners 20% off any microphone in their catalog, including their top-end mics. Now, I've been testing this cool-looking Lewitt LCT 440 Pure for the last few months, and it's outstanding. And if you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, you can see my review of this microphone, as well as some other professional recording artists' reviews of two of Lewitt's most popular microphones, as well as get your 20% discount code. The mics come with a 30-day guarantee and a 1-year warranty, so there's absolutely no risk involved here. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, Lewitt, to get your discount code and to check out some short videos with in-depth information to see what recording and performing with Lewitt mics is like.
So I just decided to like rent this movie online. I thought this is worth watching, and I was like, I didn't really know what to expect. I know obviously the title seemed quite somber and stuff, and I was like, you could see it was like a war-torn story. But I was like, Jesus, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The storyline is like, it's a true story as well. It's like written as like almost like as an apology type thing. But the young guy in it, his parents are killed. And he has to look after his really young daughter. And they're just basically trying to survive through the war. They run into, they try and go to other family who don't take him in because there's not enough food. And he's basically, in the story, he sort of says, I was quite selfish. I probably should have just stuck around everyone, but I was too proud. They went out on their own, and his little sister dies. And he just feels so guilty about it. And that's just that's kind of the story of the song. And
wow, that's heavy.
It's hard to put. Yeah, I mean, the lyrics are they're quite. It tried to tell the story and get the feeling of the story and the movie across as best as possible. And it's hard to recreate that in a video as well. You just do the best you can, and it seems to have become a bit of a fan favorite, that song, even though it's like an 8-minute track,
No, it's a great track, and it's really the lyrics are very emotional. I thought it was great. And the movie it's called Grave of the Fireflies. That's the movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check. Is it an English movie or an American movie?
It's it's a Japanese anime by Studio Ghibli.
Oh, okay, right. Okay,
yeah.
Right.
So it's all the guys that made Mononoke Totoro and Spirited Away and all those films.
Yep.
So you can watch it dubbed over in English, but I kind of I prefer watching the actual thing in Japanese and just reading in English. You kind of gets the
Get the
essence across a
emotions
bit
better.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We do that with TV shows. I need it.
Yeah,
We watch a lot of British TV here, actually.
right.
But except when they switch to shows from Scotland, then I need the English underneath it because I can't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. You know, if you get a strong enough like Glaswegian accent or something, it's tough to understand.
And even my wife, like I said, she's from there. And I'm like, what did they say? She goes, I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, when what are exactly are the fireflies? Because you have this one lyric. It says, "Mother and father will dry your eyes now that you sleep with the fireflies." That was like heavy, man.
Well, that's at the part of the story when the young girl dies. So her
Oh,
mother and
okay.
father are already passed away. So the idea is that she's now with her mother and father, and because
Oh,
she's sleep with the firefly is basically because they kept these little fireflies in a tin, and it was like an ongoing thing they had, and they used to look at them, and it just gave them a bit of joy. And one day they looked in there, and the firefly had died as well. So it was like a
oh
a
man,
bit of
this
a
is
bit of a
like a lot of
metaphor.
work you did to put this track together.
Yeah, it's one of them things. It's like it's such a heavy story. You think you've got to you've got to do your you do diligence and try and do it some justice. So yeah, I did. I watched it a few times, and it's I can't say it was a difficult one to write. I actually once I got in the flow, I really enjoyed writing it just because it's such a strong story, and it tends to just it's one of those ones I didn't musically. We wrote the song musically first, and I didn't really realize what concept we were going to go for, and I didn't also realize that it needed such an emotional sort of song lyrically to match the music. But when I started writing it, I was like, even the break part when it starts telling about how that's the part when the sister has died, and it just all flows and it kind of just matched together like
That's awesome.
um yeah, it just worked out.
That was really well done, man. Awesome.
Thanks.
I have a guitar nerd question. I played along with that track, and I thought I hope I'm correct. It's in like A flat major, which is not a very common key. So I assume it's A major. You just tune down a half step.
Yeah, we tuned down. I always it's in
Lost you. No, it's good. No, it's all good. I lost you.
my sister was trying to call me, so that's all good.
Did your
um,
didn't I had Richie Faulkner on here? Didn't he play with your sister for a while?
yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
played in a band. I mean, yeah, he's what a guitar player he is. Jesus.
Oh my! I had him on here a few weeks ago. He was funny as hell.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I bumped into him at Hellfest a few weeks ago. Actually, I haven't seen him for a good few years before then. But yeah, he's
Interesting.
on top form as always.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So I'm sorry. You said is it in A major and you tune down?
It's also that the tuning for that song. Well, I use flats for some reason. I don't know why, but the guitar's in drop B flat,
Okay.
so it's in drop B flat. Um, I guess it's like a minor tuning as well. I suppose, like with the
Oh, dude, I can barely play guitar strung standard, so I'm not like you're talking now like a foreign language to me. To be honest with you.
well, it's funny because we used to play in like we always drop tuned. I kind of just always got the bands I grew up listening to and the riffs they were always drop tuned. It was usually drop C. And when our first singer got involved, his range was like a lot of the stuff I was writing was slightly out of his range. So we dropped down a tone again and went down to drop B flat. And that's kind of
Okay.
how we ended up there. And so I carried on writing in drop B flat into the next album. And then our
Oh
new
wow.
singer came along. His range is way higher. So some of the drop B flat stuff was a bit low for him, but this one worked out all right. But quite a lot of the songs we ended up going up, even Fleur de Lis, for instance, our song Fleur de Lis is like in drop D, like two whole tones higher. It's
Yeah.
now we're all over the shop now. It's a nightmare for
That's
life.
awesome, man. Well, making you a better player, a better writer.
Yeah, I guess so.
The new record, Blood Omen, Changing of the Guard is the opening track. That was really cool, that acoustic opening. But you've got like strings in there, timpani, flute behind the guitar. Was
Yeah.
that like an actual string section, or was that like a synth?
Yeah, no, it's an actual string section. This for the first time we got to use real strings. We've been wanting to do it for ages, and it came. Our drummer Jai, he was taught at uni um, by a lady called Audrey Riley, and I think she might even be Dr. Audrey Riley. But anyway, she's an amazing like string arranger. She's worked on albums for Muse, Foo Fighters, Coldplay, all sorts of bands, Fight Star, yeah, everyone, you name it, she's been on it. And so we spoke to her, and we always actually thought, oh, I wonder if we should ask Audrey, because we knew that she was friends with Jai. But we thought, oh, there's no way we can afford her. It's going to be, she works with Foo Fighters and Muse. We've got no chance. But
Sure.
we reached out, and she was like, well, send me the stuff and I'll see if I'm interested. And she loved it, and she loved the demos, and she was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to work on this with you guys. And she even got to she got her string quartet together, and they recorded it at ICMP in London, and we got to go down and check them out, like
That's
recording the
awesome.
strings live. Yeah, it was such an awesome experience. But yeah, she just added so much depth and like dynamic to the album. It really helped.
Well, I love that track. I thought it was such a really cool way to open the record. And then, the track builds emotionally as well as in volume. So
Mm.
tell me, my question was, is it harder to write a track where you've got like a deliberate crescendo and a climax like that? Or how does that evolve?
Yeah, I think we kind of had it somewhat written out to a point, but she just took it to another level. Like myself, if you didn't know already, so on Changing of the Guard, the sort of main melody that runs through it is actually the melody from the intro of Tears of Stone, which is the last song on the album. So we thought
Oh, that's clever.
we'd, yeah, so we wrote the album, and we knew Tears of Stone was going to be the closer, and we thought what would be cool is if we kind of bookend the album with this melody. And we sort of, like Dan, who our manager, he's a writer as well. Me and him were sitting down, and he had this kind of piano idea. And I was like, actually, this melody from Tears of Stone works over the top of that really nicely. Let's do that. Um,
Very
and
cool.
then, yeah, and then we sort of just explained to Audrey what we wanted to do. We wanted it to build up into this kind of epic crescendo, like you said, and then we're just going to slam straight into Parasite. Um, so she kind of took the melodies, worked their magic, and absolutely nailed it.
That was great with the strings. I thought it was cool. And my
Yeah.
my next question, of course, was about Tears of Stone. Funny enough, I thought that was like such a good anthem. Is that would be like an awesome show encore? Is that what is that any chance that's what happens with that track? Is it your encore?
We played it like so. We've only played it this summer just gone. Obviously, being a
Hmm.
support band, we didn't really have much of a chance to have like an encore. So we played it live though for the first time, which was, I know MJ, our singer, when before we got in the studio, he was a bit like, guys, I'm not sure I should sing Tears of Stone live. It's so high and there's so many lyrics. I was like, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. Just get to work, and he nailed it. And we were like, see, nothing to worry about, mate. And
Awesome.
yeah, like I'm just really glad we managed to get it in the set. But we've got a headline show, headline tour coming up end of the year, and it's definitely going to play a part in there. Maybe we'll do it as the encore. I don't even know yet. Speak to the
It's
guys.
such a cool track, man. I really
Thanks.
really enjoyed it. And Jai's music, his role in your band is pretty critical. I mean, he's really doing a great job driving everything, and his timing is like
Yeah.
freaking Swiss watch, man. I mean, a hell of a
He is.
drummer.
He is a hell of a drummer. It's like he's annoyingly talented. He's like it just comes so easily to him. It's like
Yeah.
we all grind away, and Jai's like, we get in a recording studio, and we hit. I'm up there in the studio, I'm on headphones to him usually. He's in the studio. I'm like, Jai, you ready? Yep. He's just all happy, ready to go. Press record. He's like, straight in, one take. He's doing like stick flicks during his recording, just because he's so used to doing it. I'm like, you're taking a piss just because he's got cameras on him. I swear.
All
But
right.
yeah, no,
Yeah, well,
he's a
he's
good guy.
phenomenal. He's really like a hell of a drummer. This is interesting. I listened to an interview with you and Matt, and you guys were talking about the differences of how audiences all over the world react. And you said sometimes it's difficult, depending on where you are, it makes it difficult to gauge whether you're connecting with them or not, or how they're feeling. And I'd never heard that. I'd just like to hear you elaborate on it. That was really interesting.
Yeah, well, it really is a thing. Like, I think the sort of natural, I don't know what the word is, the natural kind of instincts or whatever it is of crowds in different areas are different. Like, if you go and play in like the, like we just played recently in Spain and Italy, any countries with like kind of Latin kind of, with Latin fans, or especially South America, they're so buzzing to be there, and they're so into it. They're so passionate and you know extroverted in their in that they're going crazy for you the entire set, even if they don't know the band. Really, they're jumping up and down, giving it everything they have. You think, wow, would I do that for a band? I don't know. I'm not sure, but they do it anyway. But then you go to just the nature of how people are in different areas. I'm just one good example from this summer. We've just been to this summer tour is we played in Bergen in Norway, which is
Okay.
a bit further up in Norway, and very much like a watching kind of crowd. Not that they're standing there like like that and pissed off or anything, but they're just kind of standing there nodding along, not really giving too
Just
much
not
away.
verbal.
Yeah, just not as verbal. So we're like, did we go
Oh,
down
so you
well? Did
don't,
they get?
yeah.
But then afterwards, funnily enough, not only did we sell probably the most merch on the tour there, we got so many comments from afterwards saying, "Oh, I saw you in Bergen, and you were great," and loads of videos, and we were like, "Wow, the reaction online after that show has been better than most of the other ones." So you can't
That's
tell.
interesting. Well, yeah, I could see
Yeah,
you being like almost insecure up on stage, just standing there and like, are we just, hello? Like
yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
It
All
is.
right. So,
It's
no, go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was just saying, yeah, exactly. It can be very different right across, even in kind of short, like close spaces, like going from Germany to the Netherlands. Like, for instance, Germany can be quite full on and crazy, and Netherlands can be quite sort of relaxed. It's just the nature
That's
of the way
wild.
people are. Yeah.
So don't feel awkward. Spill the beans. How are the fans in America? And are they different in different sections of America?
Good question. Yeah, no, I think Americans are like, in one sense, they've got like kind of crazy, ready to party type vibe. But then also sometimes it feels like some of them are like they're sort of with like you're at the cinema kind of with like a hot dog and a drink kind of watching. So it's like it's a
That's
bit of both. Like
interesting.
some people are going
Yeah.
nuts, and then some people are like there to watch. But in general, like they're a lot more forthcoming with their opinions. Like after the show, they'll come up to you and say like, "Great show, guys," and
That's
want to
nice.
kind of come and have photos, which that's quite nice. I think in general, like Americans are a lot more warm and friendly than the English.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because when I first met my wife, when I'd go over there and I'd talk to her mom, you know, and then like I'd put Ann back on the phone, and she would say to her, she goes, "Does he shut up?"
It's like
So I think,
yeah, it's such an English thing. I think
right, yeah, it's really funny. And my
it's
wife would
just
just be like, "Oh, he's American, what do you, what do
yeah,
you? He's
exactly.
American, and he's a New Yorker, on top of
That
it,
explains it all. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But that was interesting. I'm glad I saw that interview. I know you're still early in your career, but what would you say so far? Top three musical experiences you've had, and what made them so much fun?
My phone's just died.
Oh, no worries. It actually sounds better. I said you're
Okay.
still early in your career, but tell me the top three musical experiences you've had so far, and what made them so much fun or so memorable.
Top three. Oh wow. I mean, there's been some really incredible ones. I mean, for me, one of a big one for me was when we got to support Killswitch Engage, because they're such a big influence on me growing up, getting into metal and stuff. And they were my favourite band for a long time, and just getting to support them was pretty crazy. And getting to meet them as well. It wasn't just one show as well. We had like a string of about 5 or 6 shows with them. So
that's nice.
We got to say hello and hang out with them a little bit, and super nice guys. I think probably some of the tours we've done, undeniably, there's a few of them really. Some of the shows we played supporting Maiden have been insane, as you can imagine. Like,
yeah,
especially South America supporting Maiden, like Sao Paulo, playing in a football stadium. Like, that is something I'll never forget. Like, obviously being a support band, and a lot of those shows in South America, there was Anthrax on the bill as well, so we'd be going on first, and you kind of expect there to be a decent amount of people in, but there's obviously going to be empty seats and people coming in later on to watch Maiden. But that was one show we stepped out on, and I was like, wow! I took my breath away. It's full, absolutely full. About 50,000, or maybe more than that, people watching us. Anyway, that was right up there. To be honest, another one was like coming out of the other side of this of the whole nightmare that was the last few years, and signing to Sony. That was a huge deal for us, signing to Music for Nations. That was a real highlight, because that's such a frustrating time. We're working so hard on this album, and you just kind of think, where's it going now? And that was that. They were the label we wanted to partner with, and they were interested in us, and it worked out. And it's like we got to put the album out via them, and it's all been kind of happy days since then. So
that's awesome. Congrats, man. That's awesome. Very cool. Do people still walk around with masks over in the UK?
No, not anymore. Yeah. It's been quite a while now. It's been back to normal, which is obviously great.
Good. Yeah, we have that here occasionally. It's not very common, but you still see it once in a while. On planes, you see it quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, so it's the only question I'm going to ask related to that. I was just curious, what are some lessons you learned from him as far as things to do and maybe even things not to do, like mistakes to avoid making, if you're comfortable both in life and in your music career?
Yeah, I think it probably applies to both, really. It's quite a simple answer, but it does definitely apply to both. It's one of the things he kept kind of drumming into me from a young age, especially when he knew I was trying to get into music, because he never really forced me to get into music. I just sort of fell into it, because it just became my passion, basically. But he'd always say, like, that the further along you go, if you've got something good, like that, which you guys, which in his opinion, he's like, you guys have got something good going on with the writing and the direction and the theme behind the band and all this stuff. He was like, the further along you go, the more people will get involved, the more opinions, and people will try and shape you to do this or do that. He said, just make sure to stick to your guns, basically, and just kind of don't kind of roll over when you feel like, oh, there's these big sort of executive people telling me to do this. I better go and write like a poppy track or something, because it needs to get on the radio or something. He's like, just make sure if obviously you can take advice on board, but just make sure, stick to your guns and trust your gut, and just keep at it, and it will kind of shine through in the end.
That's really great advice, man. I agree with you. I think it's both good for life and for music. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Without a doubt. Again, you're so young, this may not even be a relevant question, George, but what were some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
Well, I think in music career-wise, like going through, it's made not really sort of relay with anyone else, but like when we went through changing our singer for the first time, that was like, we had about a stretch of about 8 weeks over Christmas, and that was just like really stressful, because it's not like we parted ways with Mike and we had MJ lined up. That didn't cross over, so we were like, we're auditioning some guys, and whilst that might seem like a pretty easy thing, 8 weeks and doing some tryouts, but it was like that was really stressful. So I remember getting quite down about that until we found MJ, and it, like, the morale was super high. But that, and then, same answer again probably for a lot of people, but the pandemic really screwed my head quite a lot. I mean, we were actually in America on we're doing like a radio promo tour. We basically flew into the West Coast and jumped in like a van. We had a couple of acoustic guitars, and we were driving across the east, stopping at some radio stations, playing like acoustic performances, doing interviews and stuff. And by the time we got to New York, we were due to do our first ever US headline show, and we were supposed to do New York, Chicago, LA, and then go home. It was just like a little taster. And like 2 days before the New York show, we got flown home. The whole world shut down.
That must have been so disappointing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it almost would have been a hell of a lot easier if someone just come out and said, right, this is going to be the case for the next 2 years. And then you can go, right, okay.
Yeah.
We've got that to work towards. We go and do some other stuff, and we got that to work towards. But you just don't know. We were like, because we were actually supposed to go to the US as well and record our album in like April 2020, which is really strange to think, because it was completely different back then. And then it got, okay, let's move it to July, because this will blow over in a couple of months and we'll be fine. And then that got pushed back, and we're like, okay, well, this is getting cancelled as well. So, but yeah, I think that was just such a strange time mentally. Just don't really, it's one of them things. Now I can look back at it in hindsight. I felt like I had all the time in the world, obviously, but I felt like I had no time to do anything. It's a weird mindset. Like, I felt like I was like, I can't even think of anything, because like, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that, and that made me do kind of nothing. And it was like it was a real shitty time mentally. But yeah, I think just a couple of songs came out of it. Like we released a track. Well, we released Exile in 2021, which is like a kind of project we did in the pandemic, and a song called No Man's Land, which was kind of based about all that stuff. Yeah, you can end up in some pretty dark places when you don't know what's going on. But yeah, luckily we've come out the other side of it, so it's all good now.
Well, you're pretty driven, and that's why you seem super driven, and I mean that in a good way, because you got a good work ethic, you're driven. To me, that's a better quality person.
Cheers.
And when you're driven like that, it's hard to be like, well, it's okay, I'll do nothing for a while. That's just not, because I'm that way, and it's like doing nothing is not in my fucking DNA,
Yeah,
like,
I think it just made me freak out a bit. Like I just felt super uneasy for a long time.
Yeah, I get it, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. I agree with you.
No worries.
As far as guitar goes, is there anything you're currently working on, like for personal enjoyment, as opposed to stuff for the gigs and for the shows?
Not anything in particular. I've always just been a noodler. I don't really sit down and go, right, I'm going to block out 2 hours of my day and I'm going to do loads of exercises, because I've actually never been like an out and out like solo lead guitar player. That's kind of not really my strength. I just enjoy. I'd say, strangely enough, because of how it sounds when you listen to our band. But 90% of stuff I write is on the acoustic guitar, just because.
Interesting.
I'm lazy, and there's a guitar there, and I sit on the sofa and I just noodle around until I go, oh, that sounds quite cool, and chuck it down on my phone, and then I'll go to the studio, pick up my guitar, and go, this sounds, this works, or not. So that's all.
That's interesting.
It's all I do, and it's funny when I get in situations where, like, I don't know, you might be at someone's friend's house or something, they have a guitar, and you're like, oh, George, you're a guitarist, play us something we know. I'm like, honestly, I don't know anything. I don't know how to play anything you know. I was like, as sad as it sounds, I pretty much just know how to play Raven Age stuff and
Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, and Smoke on the Water. Exactly. Like,
that's awesome, man. That's
apart
cool.
from a few of the riffs I used to play when I was a kid, like I just all I do is noodle around until I find something I like. But
That's great, man.
it is literally my favorite thing to do. So
That's awesome. What is your go-to guitar right now? And like what other two guitars round out your top three?
I've got I've just for this tour, this summer tour, ESP kindly gave me another. I hadn't had one for a few years. I didn't really feel quite right asking for a guitar when there wasn't much going on. But so I got I've just recently had like an E2 Horizon, which is I don't actually have on me. I thought I might have had it on me, but I don't know. But yes, it's an E2 Horizon, like sort of cherry red sunburst, which is yeah, lovely, Japanese built. It's really really nice guitar. That's kind of my new go to. But I've been with ESP for quite a few years now, so I've been through. I've had like an actual like US ESP, which I tracked our first EP and album on.
Like a Les Paul looking one?
No, they're like I've got one of my LTDs here. They're like the Strat shape ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these guys.
That's a great looking guitar, man. The binding in the around there is really pretty.
Yeah, that's kind of what attracted me to them. Really, I've always been like a Strat shape fan, and to be totally honest, I think what made me want to use the ESP Horizons was the guys in Parkway Drive, the band.
Okay.
Back when I was like, sort of, I got into that band when I was like 17 or something, and I just thought, oh, they're, really, I was quite into Jeff Lynne and his riffs and solos and stuff, and that's kind of been an ESP guy since. But yeah, other than that, it's just it's going to be a Strat, an actual Strat. I've got one which I like an American Performer Strat, which I use in the studio a fair bit. It's just you can't beat the tone, like especially the cleans. I use it for cleans quite a lot in the studio. It's just you can hear it a mile off, but you just can't beat it. So that's got to be in the top three. And I'm trying to think what else. There's not many other guitars which I use. I mean,
what's that acoustic that you always noodle on?
That's an Epiphone actually. This one which my wife bought me, and yeah, it's a great guitar. It's such a nice playing guitar. That's like one which I've written so many of our songs on it, which it has like a super, I have a bit of an attachment to it as a guitar. But as far as actual guitars go, in terms of the quality of them, we use like a Fender Kingman for acoustic, like tracking on our albums. We've used that for the last few records. I think it's got such a. Have you seen them? But it's like it's an acoustic guitar with like an actual Strat headstock.
Well, I haven't. I just wrote it down. I'm going to check it out. I've never even heard of that, the Kingman. I'm going to definitely check it out. Yeah,
they're lovely. It's got such a nice full body, like warm tone to it. It's just you could sit there and just play it for hours. But it's such a nice recording guitar. But that would probably make the third spot in the top three.
Very cool, man. Tell me the funniest or most embarrassing thing that's happened to you in the studio or on stage.
Oh, there's a few embarrassing things of me because, like, being, nowadays it's way more collaborative. Like the other guys get involved, especially MJ and that get involved with songwriting. But like from the off up until sort of this album, it's kind of been predominantly me writing the stuff. And especially back in the day, before I really knew how to sort of use like Pro Tools and stuff, and also like for myself, basically I have to put guide vocals down to show the singers and the rest of the band the song that I've written, and I'm not a singer.
Okay.
So there's me. I don't really know. I didn't know how to use auto tune back then. I didn't really know any tricks like doubling to blend stuff in. So I'm like, and I don't have a very high registered voice or quite a low registered voice. So I'm writing all these melodies and I'm trying to like screech in the studio to try and make it sound good. And I just kind of got to a level and I was like, okay, I'm not going to get any better than this. And some of our early demos, man, of me trying to sing are so embarrassing. And Yeah, nowadays I'll just for the sake of getting a guy's vocal across, I'll just sing what the hell I can and then just auto tune the shit out of it and just say,
Right.
sorry mate, as long as you can understand the melody,
That's funny,
you'll be
man.
able to do it, no problem. But yeah, for some reason, like
That's funny.
the guys that have been in the band the whole like long term, like Matty, our bass player, and Jai, they've got all these demos on their laptop. So especially Jai, he loves bringing them out in front of people. Like when he's meeting new people on tour and stuff, he's like, "Oh, do you fancy listening to some of our early demos of Jules singing?" And he's like, "I'll just have to walk out. I have to walk out the room."
That's
It's
horrible.
yes, it's
Well,
too embarrassing.
that was a good answer. Thank you, man. Hey, tell me your top desert island CDs in no particular order, and just for today, because I know that changes all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that is the toughest question of all time. I'd say like there's a couple which I reckon I put in there for like nostalgic reasons. I'd probably put in The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put in, and for the same reason, I think I'd put in Horizons by Parkway Drive.
Okay.
Those eating up my top three, and last one I'd go with Rumours by Fleetwood Mac.
Whoa, that's a switch.
Yeah, a bit of a switch. Yeah, funny enough, they've been Fleetwood Mac have been my top. You know, when Spotify does the rap thing at the end of the year, top bands you listen to. Yes. Fleetwood Mac have been my top band for the last 2 years in a row, which I didn't even realise.
That's interesting.
Yeah, this goes to show.
I like the old Fleetwood Mac, like with Peter, Danny Kerwin, and
right.
there was another guitarist, but like, because I'm a blues guy, so I like some of their old, the Peter Green stuff, of course, like that.
Peter Green, yeah.
I love that stuff.
It's such good songs. It's one of them things I didn't get into until I was older, because it's like a bit of an older sound. But I started realizing I know all of these songs. I didn't realize they were all Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. I was like, wow, and I just started checking them out, and now, become one of my favorite bands.
That's awesome, man. A good band, a great band. All right, George, tell me about a change you've made or a specific experience you had that changed either your outlook on life or how you look at yourself.
Wow, that is a tough question. So, well, I recently, actually, I don't think I've told anyone this, but I recently developed something. I'm kind of coming out the other end of it now, but I developed something called focal dystonia, which is an issue.
Your hands?
With my hand, yeah. So it was like
I had another,
two fingers was kind of stopped working, and I had all of the checks. Like I don't know if you can see that, but I had an operation on my arm to move my nerve and injections in my neck and all sorts of stuff. And I couldn't find what the hell it was, and got diagnosed with this focal dystonia thing. I kind of didn't want to hear it to start with, because I looked it up, and I was like, I'm not too sure about this. But anyway, turns out that it's like, it's kind of like a mental state when your body holds on to tension and stuff like that. So you kind of,
interesting.
You're almost in fight or flight mode, like 24/7. You kind of don't realize, you subconsciously. So you kind of need to work your way back out of that and realize, why am I like this? And you can kind of doing these like exercises and stuff to change your mental state, to kind
of meditating,
almost like meditating, to kind of relax and your body. Didn't quite realize how much I was doing that, and how much my mindset, like I said, I think through the pandemic, when I felt so like anxious and frustrated all the time, I was body's holding on to this, and it actually physically stopped me from playing the guitar properly. So that was something which completely changed my outlook on life and myself, how to sort of deal with yourself a bit more in certain situations and in general. It's kind of chill out a little bit, basically.
Wow. It's interesting. I grew up in a very stressful environment, so I tended to make decisions throughout most of my life that would put me back in that environment because that was my norm. But
Yeah,
about in 2008, 2010, I had a bunch of like everything just fell apart, lots of different stuff. And I realized, and I wrote it down even on a little index card. I realized that a lot of the stress I was dealing with was my fault. And I
right.
vowed to myself that I'm not going to do that. That, you're going to have, life's going to give you enough stress on its own. But I
Yeah,
really made a conscious effort. And so what I'm saying is, if you do that, it'll work because I've totally turned my whole disposition around. I mean, I'm having the happiest
that's
time of my life.
that's great.
And
That's great to hear.
yeah,
Really, really
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And
So you can definitely do that. You just gotta, when you're used
yeah,
to
I mean, I'm feeling way more positive now. I'm actually kind of coming out the
good.
other side of it. There's like a light at the end of the tunnel, but that probably would actually been a better answer for your previous question about dark times. I think that all had an effect, but it took me
Yeah,
such a long time to realize that it was a physical problem. I was just thinking, what the hell's going on? Maybe I'm not practicing enough. So I'm practicing way more and it's getting worse. And then it's like you're putting pressure on yourself and that's adding towards it and it's doubling down on the effect. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, got to a point where I had to sling all my solos and stuff to the other guitar player because I was a bit like, I'm not nailing these. I can get by with stuff, but it's just frustrating. And you kind of have to just kind of accept it and just go with what you've been dealt and just try and deal with it, basically.
yeah. Well, I wish you a lot of luck, man. You're a super bright guy, so I know you'll be able to put your mind to doing anything you need to do. So I just wish you a lot of luck with that.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. Flip side, what do you like most about yourself?
That's a good question. Oh, I don't think I've ever thought about that before.
Nobody does. This is like a horrible question for a British person, especially.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got.
yeah.
I know. Sorry.
I reckon.
We don't like ourselves.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I'm really struggling to answer it. What do I like best about myself? I suppose, especially, it kind of contradicts what I've just said about my mindset. So it was kind of a subconscious thing. I'm very laid back and have a bit of a, don't know, zoomed out look at life in general. And I don't tend to kind of get too stuck on stuff. But I don't know if I think that's my favourite thing about myself. I guess the songwriting thing that I have, I don't know what it is. I think I'm grateful that I have that because it comes so naturally. I haven't really, luckily luckily I don't have to really grind hard at it. Stuff just kind of happens, and I guess I'm kind of grateful for that.
That's awesome. But I disagree. I mean, see, this is where that work ethic thing comes, because you just told me like all the research I watched that movie 3 times.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you said to me, right? That's not like, not a lot of people, and then you created this masterpiece, right? Not a lot of people are willing to do that. And the guys that think, oh, I'm not, I'm blessed. You're working your ass off. It's just that it's a passion of yours, and you probably wouldn't think of doing anything less because that's what you do, man. That's like, you're all in when you're doing something. You're not going to give a 50% effort,
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Yeah. And I found that it's the lazy people that like, oh, this is so hard. Well, I mean, you're not really doing much. Of course it's hard,
But yeah, you're
So,
right. It doesn't feel like work when it's what you're passionate about. So
yeah. And when you're driven and you say, man, you want to put a good quality product out there, so that's awesome. Best childhood memory.
I'd say probably actually getting the chance to tour around quite a lot with my old man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I absolutely loved being on the bus. Like he would often take us out, like especially if Maiden toured the States in like the summer holidays.
Right.
He'd basically get like an RV and he'd follow the tour around, but we'd stay at like RV sites nearby. So
oh, that's cool.
I loved being on the RV. There's quite I've got there's quite a few of us. I'm one of six, so there was like not that much space.
6.
But where I was like,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
where I was like,
God bless you. Oh,
yeah,
I couldn't imagine. I've got
where I was
3,
like,
and I was like, surrender with the white freaking flag. 6.
yeah,
Wow.
I can imagine. So I would be like, 10, 12 years old and quite small, and there was not enough bed space. So my bed was like the dash next to the steering wheel
Oh
in
my
like
God.
little sleeping bag and a pillow, and I was quite happy being there. And I was just going around the campsites on my little scooter, just making friends and playing basketball and whatever. But that was like,
Oh, that's cool.
some of the greatest memories I have, just being around and tour, and then obviously going to the shows and just experiencing the whole thing.
That
Awesome.
must have been overwhelming as a young kid, like seeing like 30,000 people just like acting mental.
Yeah, it's one of them things. I don't think I quite realised the scale of Maiden until I was about that age, and I
Yeah,
just obviously growing up. That's what Dad did. And so it was
sure.
totally normal to me. He'd be off on tour, and he'd be in the studio and editing, video editing, whatever he was doing in his office for hours and hours on end. But that was just like normal. But I didn't really quite get to grips with the scale of Maiden as a whole until I was a bit older, and I was like, wow, all these people were really passionate about it.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. That's a very interesting lifestyle to grow up. It's not very, mainstream. You don't see that, encounter that a lot.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to travel? What's your favorite place you've been?
Um, Favorite place we've been. I mean, I do actually. I mean, I really love the States. To be honest, I'm not just saying it because I'm on here with you. I do. I do.
Which part?
I've done.
Which part?
Yeah, I've
Which
done.
part of the States?
We've done States a fair bit, and I actually really loved like driving through like sort of Wyoming, Idaho, Montana
Oh,
sort of areas.
dude,
It's
that's like
just
God's country, man. That's
yeah,
like
yeah,
so majestic. It's beautiful
yeah.
out
It's
there,
just
man.
it's absolutely it's just so beautiful the landscapes and the change. Like 1 minute you're kind of like a almost like a sort of desert type thing. The next minute you're driving through mountains with snow and stuff. It's unbelievable. That's
Yeah, it's majestic.
that's been
Yeah,
one of my favourite trips I've ever done.
yeah, I could see that, man. I know you're a big sports guy. Do you have any hobbies outside of music besides sports?
Besides sports, what else do I do
Reading,
besides
obviously, you're a
sports?
huge reader.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, reading, like reading, just like watching movies and stuff like that. I'd say like I'm like a horror film fan, but like the thing is, I used to be anyway, but like since being with my wife, I mean, we've been together for like 14 years, 15 years this
Oh
year.
my God, dude,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
long
crazy.
time for a young. Oh my God,
I know.
congratulations!
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, we only got married like 2 years ago, but we've been together since we were like 17. But she's like so can't watch anything in the slightest scary. That used to be my go-to sort of thing. I'd watch like
Right.
horror films and that, but she's not into it, so I don't get as much of a chance to get stuck into them anymore. But yeah,
Right.
movies, reading, but sports mainly take up my downtime. Really, I like play football, tennis, golf, whatever I can squeeze in. More recently, paddle tennis. I don't know if you guys, if you know that.
Paddleball, yeah, dude.
Paddle,
I grew up
yeah,
in New
yeah,
York City. Paddleball was like big time there, believe it or
yeah.
not.
It's a new thing over here. Really, it's like been on the scene for a bit, but only people, my pals and stuff, have only just started playing it recently. So I've literally only played it once, but I'm hooked already.
It's a fast-paced sport, man, and you got to hit that
Yeah,
ball hard. And that's
yeah,
it's. You know what, man? They have in New York City massive paddleball tournaments, and especially
really,
like Latins. Mostly Latins are like Puerto Rican teams, Dominican teams. They're really into that, and these guys
right.
are just killer players, man, and
Yeah,
they're like
yeah,
taking this shit so seriously. Yeah,
right.
it's a. I played it when I was a kid, right across the street in the basketball courts. They had
Oh
paddleball
wow,
courts. Yeah,
oh, that's
it's
awesome.
a fun. Yeah, it's
I
a
thought it was
fun.
like a new thing. Obviously not.
No, no, no. Obviously not. No, no.
Yeah.
Thanks, George.
I didn't
All
mean
right. Hey, man.
that.
No, it was funny. It was great. last question. What's giving you the most joy right now?
Right now, I'd say just being boring answer, but just being at home with my wife and my dog.
Awesome.
Like,
That's a
we
wonderful
spend a
answer,
lot of
man.
time on the road. We've been away for like 2 months, and yeah, it was our 2-year wedding anniversary this weekend just gone. So we jumped in like a camper and went to the beach with the dog, and just general spending,
Awesome.
like, family time basically. That's
great.
what's making me happy at the moment.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. I hope that you got a lot of years of that, man.
Thanks,
All right.
mate.
So let me tell people where to find you and what you got going on. It's The Raven Age, and you can find them online at theravenage.com. The new album is Blood Omen. George is just a phenomenal writer. I'd encourage you to check out the whole catalog. It's
Thanks,
really
man.
good. And it was really nice to see the band change and develop over time too. You know, that's always, you know, as a listener, that's nice to see that. And, you know, you guys just do things and, you know, you get tighter and tighter, but your songwriting, and I'm not blowing smoke, is phenomenal for especially as prolific as you are. The band's going to be doing European tour starting in mid-October, going through England and Europe. They're headlining, so check that out. You can find it on the website, theravenage.com. Also, you can follow them on their socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I don't even know. I don't have TikTok. Do you get followed on there? What is it called? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's just at the Raven Age. I mean, I'm not a big TikTok guy myself, but like I have it now because the band has an account, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. But yeah, I probably should pay more attention to TikTok, to be honest.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to take that seriously. It's like there's everybody, all social media now, everybody's giving advice, right? And like, it's just overkill, man. Like, how many different people do I need to tell me all of a sudden that I should put strawberries in a jar? And I mean, exactly. Like, and like, what are your qualifications? Like, oh, I saw another guy do it, so I just did it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What the fuck is? Like, I'm surrendered. I don't want to hear it. I just want to look at like cat videos and like deer and bear. I just consider like innocent nature, you know?
Exactly.
Anyway, man, I really appreciate everything. Is there any final words of wisdom?
I mean, yeah, it was great to chat to you. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, my pleasure. I wish you guys a lot of luck in everything you do. You're a phenomenal band. I hope you know everything that you're looking to do.
I mean, I suppose if anyone hasn't checked us out already, check out the new album Blood Omen, and we're working hard on trying to get out to the States as soon as possible. I think fingers crossed some point next year. So keep an eye out. Hopefully we'll catch you guys.
That'll be awesome. Also. Hey, hang on one second, George. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, and best of luck with everything with the band and everything you got going on at home too. So hang on one second. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your socials. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to George Harris for spending time with us. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Peace and love, everybody. I am out.